Okay. Appreciate everyone for tuning in. We're just giving an update on the previous events, what's going on currently inside the prison system, and what we are planning moving forward. We are Free Alabama Movement. We're operating from inside the Alabama Department of Corrections, and as the world knows, we're experiencing, all levels of oppression, whether it's in the sentencing, it's in the police brutality. We're having an epidemic of um, drug overdoses, suicides, homicides, police killings, gas chamber executions and stuff. And we reached out to organizers that we began preparing for a statewide shutdown, and we wanted to consolidate this movement, not just in the state of Alabama, but around the United States, because we understand that people are going through the same things. And so we came into contact with this amazing organization, and they're giving us the type of outside support that we need to maintain a presence inside of these prisons, because that's so important. People don't understand that there has to be a presence at the prisons, because this is the place where the oppression is going on. We have a lot of organizations that like to hang out in these state capitals, in Montgomery and other places, but those are not the places where the solutions are going to come. The people in Montgomery are not there to solve these problems. They are the ones that created these problems. And these problems are rooted in economics. And so we have these people, these political action committees, these companies that are profiting off of this stuff around the state of Alabama and around the country. And so we're trying to show people the interconnectedness in all of these things. Our protesters are nonviolent, peaceful protesters. They're showing up. They're being confronted, as you can see. Um, Police force coming out, but these are citizens exercising a First Amendment right, and they're still being confronted with this threat. And so this threat in society is a little bit different from the threat that we see on the inside, because there's no one watching. There are no cameras. They're not concerned about us as human beings and our humanity. And so this is the reason why we began organizing, because our humanity was not being respected. Our human rights are not being respected. People are not getting relief in the courts that they're entitled to. People are not getting relief from the parole boards. Just on and on and on and on. It's like a black hole that we've been sucked into, and people can't find a way out. People doing 10, 20, 30, 40 years in prison, and there's no criteria that says that when a person completes this level of rehabilitation, then they'll be entitled to earn their freedom. We always hear people say that people have to be held accountable for their actions. Well, that should be a two-part process. If you're going to say that a person did something that caused them to get in prison because of their actions and only their actions alone, then that same person, because of their own actions, should be able to work a process where they're able to get their freedom back. And that's not happening in Alabama. We've had people go up in front of the parole board with 10, 15, 20-year clear records, no disciplinaries, completed the rehabilitation programs that the state provides in this $800 million prison system. The parole board is still saying deny, 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 which only shows the contradiction and the flaw in the whole system as a whole. If you have a system, you say it's a Department of Corrections, and if we complete the correction curriculum, then why is it that no one is still being freed? And so when people lose that hopelessness, and people give up, we start seeing exactly what we is being posted and is coming out of these prisons every day. Drug overdose deaths, unexplained deaths, people being brutally beaten to death by officers, with no accountability, and just on and on and on and on. And they constantly want to justify this, and they want to justify it now by trying to build new prisons. But the prisons that actually no control over, these prisons are animal houses control. Um, there's no established process for a person to even really rehabilitate themselves. There's nothing to say that this is what you need to do. This is what we're going to offer you. This is what we're going to make sure that you have. They don't have any of that. And so we're just here and we're just doing time. And so we're doing decade after decade after decade. And nothing that anyone did today in the Alabama prison system, there's nothing that they did today that will count towards them being able to be free. It doesn't matter what it is. If you went to work today, that job will not provide you with the opportunity to get free. I don't care how good of a laborer you are, how long you work. There's nothing that says that working that job is going to be to your benefit when the decision is made for you to get free. If you went to trade school, if you graduated a trade, or if you completed a class or something, there's nothing within the system that says because you've done that, this is going to put you one step closer to the door. So there's literally nothing that we can do inside these prisons to help facilitate us getting back to our families and getting our freedom and getting our lives back. And so that's what the essence of this movement came into existence for, because we understood that this system was a fraud. And so it had to be confronted, it had to be exposed, it had to be challenged. And so that's what these work strikes or shutdowns or whatever you want to call it is all about. It's about confronting the system, exposing the system, and telling the system that if what you are offering to us is not for our benefit, only to your benefit, and they're benefiting hand over fist. The money is coming in. The resources from these corporations and stuff. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars in the state of Alabama and hundreds of billions of dollars nationwide off of our labor. Collect phone calls and the only that we're going to order to live here, we have to know that. And so we have to challenge that, because you cannot take human beings and compile us in an environment like this and compel obedience, except but by violence. And so the violence has now become ingrained into the culture. And so when you go to sleep, you're worried about violence. When you wake up, you're worried about violence. All throughout your day, you're worried about violence. And it's not just physical violence. It's psychological violence. It's emotional violence. It's all levels of violence. And so when you see us uh, make these calls to action, this is what that is about. It is about getting people to understand that these prisons are not what you're being told and what you're seeing on the news. There's a humanitarian crisis going on inside of all prisons. Nothing in Alabama is unique. Nothing that's going on inside of Alabama is unique as far as the things that are transpiring. And so we're putting this message out. We're asking people to come and support us. We centralize our base at St. Clair Prison because we can't have people just running around all over the state. We have to consolidate and create a base for people. So when you see our organizers out, we're going to send them to other places around the state. But the base is St. Clair Prison. And this is where we want to mobilize, and this is where we need people to come to. We need them to get in contact with the organizers on the outside, to educate themselves about the issues, um, and to get involved. Social media is great, but you cannot solve this type of problem only on social media. You have to put boots on the ground, and we're asking for all of our boots on the ground to mobilize to St. Clair. We have a protest coming up Saturday, March the 16th at 12 o'clock p.m. Across from State Correctional Facility in Deesville, Alabama, Marion Spillway Road. This is the next protest, and they're building a $1.08 billion new torture chamber. We call it an above ground cemetery because that's the only thing that's going to be going on that we know for certain is people are going to be dying in those places. And we need our supporters and people on the outside to mobilize to this location to identify these contractors and companies and people who are building this place and intending to profit off of it. And we need you to help us put a stop to it. these new multi-billion-dollar prisons because they're not designed in any way that's beneficial to humanity. And so that's where we are right now with this. With the shutdowns, like we've explained in the past, we've done many shutdowns, but we have not had the sustained effort that it's going to take to be successful. People, it's a struggle to get these shutdowns off of the ground, a struggle to get them maintained, and a struggle to keep them going, but it's not impossible. And so we have to continue to work towards getting people to understand that this is a long-term commitment. We're not going to be able to defeat these people and defeat this system in 2 or 3 weeks or a month or a couple of months. This is something that at a minimum will require 90 days. And so we're asking for people to help us spread the campaign, to spread the awareness, to help with the organizing and mobilization effort. If you can't make it to St. Clair and you're in another area somewhere in the state and there's a prison near you, go to that place, set up shop, set up protests, start educating people, get in contact with our organizers on the ground because that's what it's going to require. We have to do things different because the things that we did yesterday, they didn't work. The things that we did today, they didn't work. We have to do something different, and that's what we're calling on. We're calling for a minimum of 90 days. We're asking to set up these encampments at these prisons. We've been going weekly here at St. Clair, and we're going to continue to go weekly until we get the results that we're looking for. So we're going to conclude this one. We're going to be communicating on a more regular basis. We have to continue to stay engaged in these dialogues. We're not just going to be posting flyers and stuff on social media and expecting for people to react to that because we know that's not realistic. We're going to be inviting people to come on and speak on our platforms, to get involved, to share your stories, share information. But most important, we have to mobilize. They have to see us. They have to see us standing out there. They have to see the signs. They have to hear the voices. And when I say they, I'm not talking about just the DOC. I'm talking about the people on the inside because the people on the inside do not know that we have support. They don't understand we have support. And a lot of people be like, oh man, it's not going to do any good. Don't nobody care and this and that. And we have to counteract that. We have to overcome that. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to establish a presence. We know for certain we're going to establish one at St. Clair, and we hope that we're able to establish them at other places as well. So thank you, everyone. Get involved. March 16th, the new prison construction site will be there. We want you to be there with us.